Hello. Headphones working? Can you hear me? Having some issues with the headphones. I don't know if it's actually working or not. Somebody's going to have to let me know. But if it is working, I will tell you, everyone, let's take a step down. Let's calm down a little bit. Breathe, relax. It's still 3-2. Yes, there are many issues with this game. No question about it. There's no doubt about it. We will get into all of them, but we have to relax a little bit. We can't go overboard here. The Golden Knights are not dead. The Golden Knights have not completely fallen off the tracks here. This hasn't been beat down after beat down, and there's some systematic problem that has fallen apart for the Golden Knights. They're not getting goalied. Their own goalie's playing well. There hasn't been a huge amount of issues. It's not the end of the world yet. We're getting there. We got to make sure they don't get to the point that they need to get to. And I do think that all of a sudden we are now at a point where, okay, the Golden Knights are going to have to start really being conscious about where they're at. And hopefully that means rise in level, better at stick battles, making these things happen, doing the types of things that we need to see to be able to make this happen. To me, upon first watch, obviously live watch, I'll watch it again later. I think the giveaways certainly come into play. Obviously, 24 giveaways, the most the Golden Knights have had in a postseason game ever, tied for the most they've ever had in a postseason game. The other one that they had that was Montreal Game 6 when they were eliminated. So that's not good. It is the second most they've ever had in a game. The one that was the only game in Golden Knight history that was higher was 28. It was a 2018 game against the Flames. The Golden Knights lost 7-2. I believe it was the final game before the Nate Schmidt suspension. It was a disaster. This was not that. The Golden Knights did give the puck away a lot. The Golden Knights were not as good in stick battles as they have been at different times. I didn't think it was actually as bad as the last game, though. It wasn't horrendous, but they certainly were giving the puck away. To me, it was a little bit more forcing through the neutral zone, and I think that's where, to me, this game starts. Where it started going downhill was the lack of pressure on the second Dallas player to touch the puck when they were trying to break out. So Vegas's forecheck would start out okay. They were getting that first man in, and the second guy that was getting to the puck was not under enough pressure. And he was either able to go back underneath and they were able to kind of reverse it, or he was getting more time to come up the wall. They got a lot of chip outs into the neutral zone. There was a lot of that I thought this was just not quite to the level the Golden Knights have had at different times. Now, I do think a huge part of that, and it's something I did mention in the previous game, and I do think this is something the Golden Knights are going to have to take a look at and potentially make some sort of a change here, because one thing that is happening right now is you're not getting the consistent dominance of Marchessault, Carlson, and Marchessault, Eichel, and Barbashev. You're not getting it as consistent. They're getting it. It's been happening, but it's not been as consistent. And in the first period, still one of the craziest stats I've ever seen, Ivan Barbashev's Corsi was 11-1 on the negative. So he had one shot attempt for while he was on the ice and 11 against. Of course, they scored on that shot attempt. So that gives you an example of kind of where this game could have headed if not for Aiden Hill, if not for some fortunate finishing, winning a race, winning a puck battle, having Ryan Suter skate the wrong direction for whatever reason. There were some things. So in that respect, that line hasn't been generating quite the same in these last two games. That's not to say they're the problem. Not. My point is, the reason that's happening is because the rest of the bottom six of Dallas has been outplaying the bottom six of Vegas. And I don't even know what I would consider the bottom six. I guess it would probably be the Stone line is kind of how I would kind of put that in play, saying, look, this is where we're at, where the fourth line is getting beat by their fourth line, and their other lower end line, which they're getting, it's Domi, Marchment, and Delandry, I think, is on that line. Whoever it happens to be, I don't even know what their line are necessarily. The point is, the bottom six, the lower end players, when Hintz, Robertson, and Pavelski are not on the ice, are killing the Golden Knights. And that can't be the case. So that's where they're going to have to make a decision. Do you bring someone else in? Do you push the envelope offensively a little bit? Do you try and go with a different route and decide, like, do we want to go back to Bluger? Do we want to move Howden down, or do we want and potentially have wah back in the middle on the fourth line. There are different options that they can potentially go to. And I think this is a moment where Cassidy's going to have to make a decision here that he hasn't had to make a lot of them. He's been making them right most of this series and this playoffs, but he's going to have to make another right one here. And I think they're going to have to win that battle in Dallas, which is the harder place to win it. I was wondering, how's it going to go after it didn't go very well for Vegas in game 4 in Dallas? Okay, we're back at home. We've got home ice. We should be able to get a little bit less of Hintz and Robertson dominating. We got that. That's what we saw. Yes, they had the one goal, but they were not controlling the game the same way that we had seen, certainly at times in Dallas. So to have that and now have this opportunity where we're going back there and we've got to make this decision on the lower end here of what we're going to do with our bottom six, that's concerning. And then the other one is like, we're at a point here in this series where McNabb and Theodore are concerning in their own end. Like, they have not been good enough in their own end. Offensively, Theodore made a big time play. They were able to kind of help some of the breakouts a little bit. Like, Theodore was getting a little bit going, a little bit more than we have seen, but for the most part, hasn't been very good. And so now decisions are going to have to be made on the road games of like, what are we looking at here? And their bottom six, their group that's going to get potentially even better now that Jamie Benn's coming back in and will be at a fairly, probably playing at a pretty high intensity himself. I'm interested to see how that goes, and maybe that gets some of their middle six players even going. So the Golden Knights are up against it a little bit, but again, 24 giveaways. You had a bundle of opportunities in front of their own goal. Hill had a great game doing what he needed to do, and Barbashev scores. You have a second lead. Like, they're in a position to win this game. It's 2-2 going into the third period. They're in position to win the game. So as bad as some of it was, and I'm not saying that it wasn't, like, this was not a great game for the Golden Knights. And I'm not a fan of the term urgency or desperation of all of that. And I understand that, like, we all have to use it. It's part of the deal. Like, that's this time of year. You're going to have to use it. But to me, I'd like to look at different things. What showed up? Where did the urgency not show up? And to me, it was two different places. One, on that second pass on the forecheck, or really the second man to touch the puck. So it's the first pass I thought was actually challenged. They were getting the first guy in. The F1 wasn't bad. It was the second guy that just wasn't quite there quickly enough, or wasn't taking the proper angle to make something happen. And to just quickly answer this question, absolutely not. I'm not taking a defenseman out for the Golden Knights. No. I can consider taking Howden or Amadio out and going to Bluger, or maybe you go down the Kessel route. I'm not even sure I would do that. However, no, we're not taking a defenseman out. No. But back to that is that forecheck, I thought, then led to Dallas to kind of get into some of that shot suppression. And the best example of it is the back end of the first period. The Golden Knights got the first 7 shots. They had the first power play of the game. It was a good power play. That's a step in the right direction. If we can keep getting power plays, hopefully we can get in that position. But that's certainly a positive. And then secondly, after that ended, Vegas gets the goal. They're kind of all over them early in the game. And then the moment that happened, Vegas had a second chance. Carlson had a chance to basically put the game away. Didn't happen. From there, that's where the forecheck backed off. That's where all of a sudden they're not able to get to them quickly enough. They are able to flip the puck out, and they are able to win in the neutral zone, which is what Dallas is going to be good at, because that's what the DeBoer system is built to do. So once that happens, now all of a sudden, Vegas is kind of playing in their own end consistently, struggling to get out. And then when they do get out, they have to change, and the next wave is coming right back at them. That's when Dallas is at their best. Luckily, in the first period, Aiden Hill was out of his mind yet again. Like, this guy has been absolutely spectacular. I tweeted it out. I'll say it again. I'm running out of adjectives in English. I'm starting to go to Italian and German and every other Spanish, whatever language we can come up with. Bellissimo, wunderbar, whatever word you want to come up with. This guy's been unbelievable. And even the one I'm kind of siding with Cassidy. Obviously, McKenna kind of went after me a little bit on Twitter there, saying that that's not a good goal to give up. And he says it's a deflection. I understand it's deflected. I get it. To me, the angle, how far it is out, like, that's one I think you want to stop there, especially in that situation, off the stick of the player that it's coming off of. Whatever, we'll debate that another day. Aiden Hill kept them in the game for a majority of this game. Aiden Hill was Vegas' best player yet again. That has consistently been the case, and hopefully that doesn't change at some point, like, because we understand that this is not the pedigree of a superstar goalie over the course of his life. That's not what we have here. So hopefully this does not go away. I do want to take this where Colorado series just took the board one more game. Let me discuss that real quickly here because I have seen a little bit of that. I've obviously seen a little bit of the San Jose series. I want to go into both of them. But first, I want to tell you that this Periscope and all Periscopes are brought to you by Kondler & Associates CPAs. Kondler CPAs are excellent local tax experts that can help you with all your tax questions, from crypto tax to gambling tax to small business, whatever types of tax you have, individual tax, all of that good stuff. Go to kondlercpa.com, KONDLERCPA.com. Tell them SinBin sent you. They'll hook you up with a free consultation. You will not regret it, I promise. And they will talk hockey with you all day, as they, as well as many of you, starting to get nervous, as am I, a bit, but not, I don't think, as badly as most of you. So let's go to the Colorado series, back to Les here. That series, the Golden Knights got smashed in game one. Yes, you can kind of talk to that one in game three. That is kind of similar. Game two is kind of similar to game two of that series, where Vegas played a good game, lost the game in overtime on a power play. They were behind. What the difference is I don't think Dallas has been that much further ahead in regards to how they're playing at 5-on-5 and how they're frustrating the Golden Knights. I don't think the Golden Knights were frustrated as much today. I just think puck decisions were not as good as they can be. I think there was a little bit of, we're going to make the play. We're going to win the Western Conference. I'm going to be the guy to win the Western Conference now. And I think that needed to kind of just get out of their system. Unfortunately, it should have been out of their system by the end of the second period. It wasn't. They ended up getting beat in the third period. Now it better be out of their system going into game six. And the Golden Knights have been very good on the road. So that's a huge difference, where coming back here, I thought Colorado was going to struggle coming back here. I'm not so sure that Vegas is necessarily going to struggle. As far as the Sharks series, Golden Knights were spectacular in game six of that series and did not win. If that's what comes next, if the Vegas is like spectacular in the next game and does not win, then maybe we want to talk about that series yet again. But that series was just, and the Golden Knights won that series in my mind. So I don't even want to bring it back to the Dallas or to the San Jose series, because the Golden Knights won the series. So in my mind, the series is over. They won the series or whatever. But the other piece that Mark Stone brought up that I do think is interesting is something that I think a lot of fans have been on a lot more than maybe what has actually transpired in this season. But now here we are in 2 games in a row, having it happen back-to-back games. When the Golden Knights have scored, they've pretty quickly gone into a little bit more of conservative style through the neutral zone, kind of 4 across the blue line, as opposed to staying in their 1-2-2, with those first 2 forwards pushing up a little bit, challenging at the red line, forcing that puck to get in deep. When they've gotten the goal, when they've gone ahead, it has backed off a little bit. And even into the third period, I thought at different times, they were giving up too easy of zone entries. When you give up easy zone entries to a team like this, they're going to be able to get in, work it low to high, and then get those dangerous chances. They get the tip chance that scored the, the second goal, or was it the first goal? Whichever one it was. That started to happen, and all of a sudden, we're in a situation where look at what are we doing wrong in the defensive zone, where really we should be looking at the symptoms of the neutral zone instead. Mark Stone said they respected them too much through the neutral zone, and I'm trying to figure out why that would be the case, because for the majority of this series, even in the games and the moments where the Golden Knights haven't looked that bad or have looked great or have looked bad at any point in the series, I don't think that it's been like horrific to the point that they've given up too many zone entries in their standard 1-2-2. Yes, I made the video about the Carrier one getting caught in between. That leads to a goal eventually. It's a goal that hurts the Golden Knights. Yes. So in this, what I was talking about with the fans and where I think a lot of people have gone is saying the Golden Knights blow a lot of leads. I've made the argument always that, yes, they do go into this shell a little bit more than we probably would like. However, for the most part, when that happens, they've found a way to get back on the right side of the game. They found a way to make sure that if they do end up giving that goal that ties the game, they score the next one, and they're able to make sure that that does not get out of hand. We've seen that over and over and over again. We saw it a lot of the Edmonton series. We saw it even in the Winnipeg series. They blew a 3-goal lead. You can make the argument that, okay, you have had a 1-0 lead and a 2-1 lead in both games 4 and 5 against a team that you are on the brink of trying to get to quit. Without that, like, understanding that that has happened, yes, I'm aware you do need to shut the door. You do need to make sure that that's it. The next goal has to come. But I don't know well, let's put it this way. I don't think it's been a systemic issue over the course of the season that they blow leads and can't get them back. They have blown some leads, don't give me wrong, but it hasn't been that bad. In this series now, all of a sudden, early goal hasn't really paid off. Extra lead later in the game hasn't really paid off. There's definitely some concern there. And then the biggest, beyond anything level of concern, is now goaltending, which is Vegas is getting elite goaltending and still has not been able to find a way to hang on to 2 different leads. That is concerning. The other one is the Golden Knights gave up 0 penalties today. None. When you go on a road game, it's very, very rare that you don't have a single penalty called against you. They're probably going to have to kill in the next game. And the kill has been hit or miss. Obviously, the 2 last game kind of sent that game away and became a problem. So there are definitely some like symptoms of concern. But to me, the fact that Vegas came out was the better team to start this game, they were able to get that, turn the tide at the end of the first period to score again to start the second, and really get themselves going when things were not going well. That's the positive. Unfortunately, they were not able to find that chance to score in the third and get that final 3, that third lead that would have given them the opportunity to win the game. Fortunately, that did not happen. If anybody else has questions, we can go ahead and get on those. I'm looking for these. What was Cassidy's mood tonight? It was frustrated. It was anger. He's definitely not happy at all with 24 giveaways and what coach would be. I do think that, like, he's aware that that level has to rise up, and he's a little bit, I would imagine, wondering why it hasn't to this point, wondering like what has been the reason that we have been able to get out to this lead and not continue it. Because like you look at the series and each individual game as a whole, and it's like the second they get ahead, now all of a sudden that push is going to come back from Dallas, and Vegas hasn't necessarily dealt too great with it. Can you discuss the ice? The ice is going to be bad. The ice is bad here. The ice is bad in Dallas. The ice is going to be bad in Florida. If we end up making it to Florida, it's something you're going to have to deal with. You absolutely have to find a way to deal with the bad ice. Sometimes that means getting the puck in deep more often. Sometimes that means making the safer play. All of it has to happen. Bad ice is inevitable at this time of the year. It is May 27th. It is something like 100 degrees outside right now. It's going to be bad. You have to be able to play through it. The Golden Knights played through it for the first 3 games of this series. They played through it for the 6 games in the last series. They played through it for the 5 games in the previous series. They were 11-3 not that long ago. Blaming the ice, to me, is ridiculous. And I understand that that did happen after game 4. And to me, that is not an excuse I want to hear. That's not an excuse I can even think. Let's see. What do we got here? Do the Knights win Monday? I still believe that we have close teams here. I said that at the beginning of the series. I said it as the series got to 3-0. I said it at 3-1. I still think the Golden Knights are eventually going to find a way to keep Dallas to the outside enough to keep them away from getting those dangerous chances that have popped up a little bit more than we would have expected over the course of the last 2 games. I think the Golden Knights will find a way in game 6 to defend much better, to be much cleaner in their breakouts. And with that, that should set the neutral zone back up the way we want it. And that should eventually lead to more forecheck, more opportunity. And eventually the biggest piece of this is in this game, we didn't see it again. I don't remember a single 2-on-1. If the Golden Knights play defense at the level that they can, at the level that they should, they will start to get odd man rushes against this team, especially if they have a lead. I think that will happen. I do not expect loaded up lines, at least not to start. I don't think there's a ton you can do to load them up. I think there's an argument to be made to maybe start looking at potentially switching Stone and Stevenson off with each other and taking Carlson and Smith away from each other. Maybe make a move there. I guess it would have to be Smith for Stone. And then you're effectively saying, all right, now we've got a massive top 6 compared to what we currently have, like a top 9. I do not expect them to do that. I think that is something that they should look at, but I do not actually expect that to happen. But Carlson has not, or I'm sorry, Smith has not been great in postseason. Stone has certainly slowed down. Stevenson, to me, outside of the goal, let's not go nuts and take that away from him, because he made the play and he got himself in a good position, and Shea made a good big time play to him. All of that, like, I haven't noticed Chandler as much as we would normally like to notice Chandler. So I think we might need to look at it. I do not expect them to go to Kessel. Part of that is, I think defense is part of the huge thing you need to get done here. I think you absolutely have to make that happen, be better defensively. And for me, that's why no Dorofeev. It's not going to be Dorofeev. I'll promise you that. It's not even going to be in Dallas. Like, at least Kessel's there. At least Cotter's there. If you want to make the call, I probably could make more of an argument for Cotter than Kessel. I don't think scoring goals is the Golden Knights' problem right now, which is nice to say, because usually when we get in these situations where we start getting nervous about series, we start talking about inability to score. To me, I don't think that's been the problem. So to me, I'm not looking for that. I am looking for forechecking. I'm looking for consistency. I'm looking for stick battles. I could potentially go to Cotter, but I also think you're going to get a better version of Amadio in this next game than you got tonight, because he's been out for quite some time. Oh, Jamie Benn, I do want to talk about that. So the narrative that's going to be going into Game 6 is Jamie Benn coming back. And obviously that narrative is going to kind of dominate the scene over the course of the next 2 days, all the way up until puck drop at 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock Central in Dallas. But here's how I see it. I actually don't think it's going to be a bad thing for the Golden Knights. It's not because I don't think Jamie Benn's better than the player that they're going to take out. I do think he actually is. And I'm interested who it ends up being, because Glendenning's been good, Olofsson's been good, and obviously Dellandrea was very good. You're not taking Dellandrea out after the 2 games. I think I'm interested to see what route they go to make that decision of how are they going to get Jamie Benn back into this lineup. But my point is, I think there's such an emotional lift expected from Jamie Benn to come in, and I don't necessarily think there's that much of there's not much higher up that Dallas can go. So their expectation is going to be, we're going to get even more of a lift. And yeah, I would make the argument, you're probably right, Sports Fanatic, that Marchment should be the one that comes out. I don't think Marchment will be the one that comes out. That's just my guess, is I don't think that's actually going to happen. But with Benn coming back, I think the expectation for Dallas is going to be, okay, we made it. We got him back. He's now going to lead us. We don't have to go and do everything we've been doing in these past 2 games. And with that, I expect actually a little bit of a drop-off in the intensity of everyone else around Jamie Benn, aside from Jamie Benn. Now, Jamie Benn driving a line could potentially be a problem, because Hintz, Pavelski, and Robertson are going to continue to be a problem. Heskinen's going to continue to be a problem. If he's able to drive a line, and all of a sudden you're getting goals out of Tyler Seguin and getting something out of wherever else they find there, put him in, whether that's, maybe it's Domi, I don't know, wherever they end up putting him in, okay, maybe. But I do think there's going to be an expectation from Dallas of saying, all right, we've made it here. We got to the point we needed to get to. Now we're in good shape because we got this guy back. And I'm not sure that they're necessarily going to be at that same intensity level across the board, because they think he's going to bring it without them, or he's going to bring it on his own. They don't need to. We'll see. And I also think part of that is also Jamie Benn's going to get back in this lineup. Vegas is going to have the wake-up call of the 2 bad games and the 2 losses. And they're not really that bad of games, but 2 losses. And they're going to say, all right, they've got somebody coming back in. We've got to make sure this thing doesn't get back to Game 7. And I think Vegas's level should increase. I have a pretty good feeling for Game 6. I'm not in panic mode at all. I'll just keep saying that. I am not in panic mode. I do not think the Golden Knights are going to lose this series. I still think these teams are too close, too similar, it's too good of a series for the Golden Knights to lose 4 games in a row. I just don't think it's going to happen. And if I'm wrong, I'll stand here and say I'm wrong. But I don't think it's going to happen. And there's going to be a lot of me saying I'm wrong when this season's over, no matter what happens. So we'll figure that out. So I'll just keep making the predictions I made. Fortunately, we don't get to Vegas in 5. We don't get to 8 goals. We don't get to the 2 shutouts. We could still get that one, but we'll see. I am not in panic mode. I think part of this, the reason I don't think anyone should be in panic mode is watch Aiden Hill play. Look at what this guy is doing. Understand that the Golden Knights, one of the biggest issues the Golden Knights had coming into this series is they were going to be on the wrong side of the goaltender battle. They have not been. Ottinger was terrific. Again today, Aiden Hill was right there with them. There's no reason to believe that Aiden Hill's suddenly going to just turn this off. And because of that, you have to believe every single game the Golden Knights have a real shot to win it. Thanks again to Kondler & Associates CPAs for sponsoring every Periscope. We will be back. I am not going to do anything tomorrow. So you got as much as I have today because I kind of need a day before I head off back to Dallas for tomorrow. So nothing's coming tomorrow. There will probably be a web article by the end of the night or into the morning tomorrow, but there will not be any Twitter space or anything of that sort. Flying Dallas early in the morning. There might be something prior to Game 6. I would doubt it because I just don't think the timing's going to work out. And then we'll obviously be back after Game 6 talking right here on this and hopefully not having green lights flash in my face as we did last time. It was much easier when Vegas has won, and hopefully we're talking about a trip to the Stanley Cup final. But we will see. Game 6, what is it, Monday night. I'll be there. Thanks to Vegas Night and Day Heating and Cooling. Of course, thanks to Kondler & Associates CPAs for every Periscope the entire season. This is number like 45 or something. I'll have to actually count. Shout out to them for sponsoring every single one all season. Do not panic. It's not over. They're okay. They're going to be fine. They're going to win one of the next 2 games. I truly, truly do believe it. This team's too good to lose this series. They're just too good. I don't believe it. It's not going to happen. Good night.